So what are we about to go see?
We're about to see Aladdin.
Do you think it's going to be a mistake?
Okay, so this is going to be a little bit of a different thing.
That was a nice little Will Smith impersonation there.
Anyway, I guess we'll do something a little different. Instead of the regular intro, we're going to kind of get our thoughts out about what we think is going to happen.
Yeah.
I think we probably are both in agreement.
I think I'm going to hate it.
I think I'm going to hate it too.
Like, if it's fair to judge a movie based on its trailers, which the movie would want you to judge it off of, like, they want to convince you to come see it.
Yeah.
And the only reason I'm going to see this movie is because there's nothing else to watch and we need to do a review.
Yeah, also...
Like, the trailers made me not want to come anywhere near this.
Also, I mean, popcorn.
Oh yeah, that's a good reason.
Popcorn is
and it's free. Got the AMC A-list.
But, I don't know. Our sisters decided to forgo this.
Yeah, they sat this one out
for the first time since we've started doing the reviews because they're not interested either. But
yeah,
for the sake of honest reviews, we're getting our first opinions out first. I think it's gonna suck.
Yeah, I think it's not gonna be great. I'm convinced that really bad CGI being one of the main characters, like, you can't make bad CGI be a character. You can make bad CGI happen. You know, maybe a character has to jump from a falling building and it's like, oh, that looked a little weird. Yeah. But it's not that character. When bad CGI is the character, you get stuff like Ang Lee's Hulk. And there are mistakes. Alright, let's go see what the damage is.
Go see.
O great one who summons me, I stand by my oath, loyalty to wishes 3. I'm kidding. Watch this.
Watch out! You done wound me up. You ain't never had a friend like me.
So were you right? Did you call it?
Honestly, no.
I don't think I called everything about it. Some of it was a bit surprising.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if the surprising parts were any good. So, okay, you know, the central lesson of Aladdin is be yourself. And I think the better version of that message is don't lie. Don't be someone you're not.
Yeah.
You know, and more like become yourself. Is the better version of that. That's the best way of saying it.
Yeah.
So, there's good and bad in this movie, but does it suck or slap? Do you want to do the countdown?
Sure. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had a feeling that was going to happen. So,
because it still gives me that feeling of like it's a really nice love story and the characters have good chemistry. That's what it still gives, because that's why I liked Aladdin, because it's like a magical, like beautiful thing, and like all kinds of fun stuff happens when they're together and like all that. But
we have different understandings of the original movie.
Yeah.
Also, we have completely opposite opinions on the romance. I thought this was Star Wars Episode 2 bad. I think both of them are such awful, terrible actors. They're so wooden that it was just like, it was like watching two planks make eyes at each other without even using their eyes. I noticed the only people that had any chemistry were Aladdin and Will Smith. And it was because when Will Smith was in the room with him, not CG Will Smith, because that didn't mean he was getting to act with Will Smith. When Will Smith is in the room with this guy that no one's ever heard of, he was lighting up. Because he was like, oh my god, I get to act with Will Smith. Like, that's what I noticed. He had way more energy. He emoted a lot more in any scene where Will Smith was there physically. Live action Will Smith. Like, the party scene was way better. The part where they're just sitting under that awning in the desert. Like, suddenly he was a character. He was acting like Aladdin. But overall, I think he was awful. I think the singing performance he delivered basically.
Yeah.
The singing was fine.
She was amazing.
I think she was pretty good. I liked her better
really
in
liked
Power
her.
Rangers. I think she was a better Kimberly, which is ironic
her.
considering that Kimberly was nothing like the other one, which kind of ties into another point I
I
might
liked
make
her in
later.
Lemonade Mouth.
Oh, wait a
That's a fun one.
second. What was Lemonade Mouth?
It was the high school band. It was like a rock band or something.
Yeah, I remember something like that. And he was in... He was in
something?
Yeah, he was in a Teen Nick show.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure he
I
was...
didn't know that.
It wasn't Big Time Rush. It was another one. It was another kind of boy bandish TV show. It was in that similar vein.
The Naked Brothers? Band?
No, I
Was
don't.
that one?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, okay.
God, ugh.
Yeah.
This movie wasn't that bad. But yeah. Okay, let's talk about the genie. Because I think that's the part everyone really cares about.
That's the part I was probably dreading the most going into it.
Yeah, I was dreading it the
I was
most.
thinking that and the fact that I didn't really care for how Aladdin looked. I felt like he needed to be more of a dreamy boy for there to be
he
like...
should have been attractive.
For all of the prostitute house ladies to be like swooning over him, I feel like
he should have been attractive.
Yeah, he should, like, especially if he's gonna be poor.
Yeah, like if you're gonna be
a
a
street
poor
rat, you've got to be like a
you should have
street
something
rat
going.
if you're gonna get the princess.
Yeah, you have to be Flynn Rider from Tangled. Like you're a poor thieving loser.
And he wasn't really.
You gotta have the smolder.
I mean, he's fine, he's cute, but like, I don't know.
Yeah, but like he was just cute, and when I noticed that at the end, he's just cute.
Yeah.
Like the little kissing scene at the end when she runs out after him, it's like, aw, look at that little boy getting his girlfriend. Aw.
The dancing scenes were cool.
Okay. Compared to Mary Poppins, this was better. As far as shooting, as far as the camera, letting you see the choreography of a musical number.
Letting
it was
you see it
so
all
much
play
better.
out from like beginning to end, and like there's not a lot of shots where it's like cut and go, cut and go.
Yeah,
cut and go.
and you're seeing the genie dance with people like in a big set piece, and we're seeing the people doing flips and stuff. That was good, and I was like, this is better than Mary Poppins Returns. I don't think I'm loving it. I wasn't loving it, but it's better than Mary Poppins Returns in that regard. I still think Mary Poppins Returns is a better movie, but the whole thing with Genie is there's one thing they royally screw up, and I can't believe they got it so wrong. There's one thing that they did so right that I'm like, how did the rest of the movie not get this? And then there's another thing where it's like, you had the perfect version of this and you didn't use it. So part one is that's a spoiler. I'll go back to that later. It's a huge spoiler. What was the other thing? It was, okay, so Will Smith, when he's there physically, he's not trying to be Robin Williams. When it was there on camera, he was being cartoon Will Smith, which the genie in the original Aladdin is cartoon Robin Williams. He's just Robin Williams going overboard. And that was super likable. I think it's funny that the same people that are going to have nostalgia for Robin Williams are going to have nostalgia for Will Smith. Like, Will Smith was famous at the same time Robin Williams was famous.
Yeah.
And, like, the kids were watching both of them. That's what I think is so funny. And why I think, now looking back, he was the right pick as far as getting the nostalgia. And the fact that Will Smith is just a really fun actor to watch when he's getting to enjoy himself. Like, Men in Black Will Smith, Hitch Will Smith.
Yeah.
Like, when he's having a good time, when he's not being super dour and serious, which I think he can do dramatic well. It's just, I have more fun when he's not dramatic.
Yeah.
With his whole thing where he's like I could just make you a prince. It's like, you gotta get the wording right. Like, that was fun. When he's CG Genie, they're trying to make him Robin Williams, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
It was like, CG Genie is made after the fact, and they were, like, Disney was getting cold feet, and like, this isn't enough like the original, we're uncomfortable with this, you need to make it more like the old one. So, Will Smith, when he's CGI, acts completely different than when he's present, and I think that's just, actors do better when they're there in the scene. In general, I mean, he's not Andy Serkis. Andy Serkis has made a career out of not being there, actually. Like, being the CG guy. For people who don't know, Andy Serkis is Gollum and, like, Supreme Leader Snoke. But, yeah. Andy Serkis is also great on camera there in person, because he was Claw in Black Panther, where he was great. But yeah, Will Smith was best when he was just Will Smith in clothes and acting like cartoon Will Smith. But when he's CG Genie, he looks like Blue Shrek, and he's trying to act like Robin Williams, and it doesn't fit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the musical number, the Never Had a Friend Like Me, or A Friend Like Me, I'm not sure what it's called, but I was extremely shocked and confused that it's just a cover of the original.
Yeah.
Like,
everything
I was like,
about it, even like the way the scenes are directed, seems
really similar.
Really similar, yeah.
Which is weird, because most of the movie isn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the movie is very different. That scene in particular, suddenly, like, the way you're introduced to this genie is Will Smith is just trying to do a really poor Robin Williams. Or he's being forced into a really awkward, poor, Blue Shrek Robin Williams. And it's like, that song is done like the song originally. And it's like, Will Smith isn't a very good singer. And he isn't a very charismatic singer. Like, Robin Williams has all of this emotion in his, like, singing in that scene. He's going up and down, he's doing impersonations and stuff. And it's like, Will Smith isn't an impersonation guy.
Yeah.
So it was, that was another thing where I'm like, the parts of this movie that have more CG are the ones that are so much more afraid to be different. And it makes it to where the parts that are different don't fit. Which is a shame, because I feel like the parts that are different are better.
Mm-hmm.
Like where Will Smith is being his own kind of genie, that's when it's better. Aladdin isn't very good. He's a flat, boring version of the original character. I didn't care for Jasmine's version of this version of Jasmine at all. Like, I didn't think the performance was very good, and they give her this weird story arc that feels out of place. It feels incomplete, and the execution is bizarre. But it feels like
they only added it because it's it's like a current. It's like a current thing.
Well, to make it more about
empowering women and their
I guess
getting their voice out. I don't know.
That gets to another thing where I'm like, this movie doesn't feel like it's about Aladdin, and it doesn't feel like he has any growth or a story. It feels like Genie has a story, which is weird.
Jasmine has a story.
Jasmine has a story.
Her dad.
One of the guards has more of a story than Aladdin.
Aladdin does.
He was an additional character. He has more of an arc.
Like they should have just called this Arabian Nights.
Or they should have called it Prince Ali, because it's fake. And it's not comfortable with being itself. It should have been more of itself. In the credits is a version of A Friend Like Me, which is totally...
Was it a version of A Friend Like Me?
A Friend Like Me, and it was hip-hop, and it was Will Smith rapping.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic.
Like, they could have made it a current.
It should have been... Well, and that's the thing. Genie was weirdly anachronistic in the original movie. Right. He was making these pop culture references in a story from the Arabian Nights, which, by the way, was originally based in China. Like, Aladdin was originally a Chinese man. This was an Arabian story written about China. But, whatever. Like, this isn't an adaptation of that story. This is an adaptation of Disney's movie. Mm-hmm. And in places, it can't decide what it wants to do. It has no identity. It's trying to be a new thing while being very, like, having little confidence in doing that thing, which makes it fall flat. The camera work is so dull. And you go and watch the original, we'll go and watch Aladdin, and Aladdin, especially, of the other movies in the Disney Renaissance, is so energetic. And, like, there's so much movement. And there's a lot of these, like zoom in, zoom out. Like, it's very showy. In this one, I didn't feel it. It was weird that in this one, their magic carpet ride, they go to the wilderness and they stay in the wilderness. Like, I get that she hasn't been outside the castle, but she wanted to see the city. In the cartoon, they're going through the city, like, over the rooftops and in the alleyways and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, that felt more connected to the point of the story.
Yeah.
Also, I'm jumping all over the place, but I kind of want to make it to where it's like, let's stop talking about the differences between the original. The original is a fantastic movie. Like, it's in my top 3 for the animated Disney films. And I've noticed that I tend to like the ones that I think aren't about romance.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think the original's about romance. The original movie is about Aladdin finding the genius within him to get what he wants, to become who he wants to be. And that isn't... And he makes mistakes in getting there. He thinks, I want to be the prince. You know, I want the girl, or I want this stuff. And it's like, the storytelling tool that is a genie, like the root word is genius. Actually, I don't know which one comes before the other. But the genie is something, as far as like archetypically or mythological, is something that's within you. And you have to find it. It's like it's unlimited potential, but it's crammed inside of you. You know, this mortal, weak thing. And in the animated movie, like, it's him kind of coming out of his shell from his lowest point, which is stuck in the cave. How does he get out of the cave? It's finding the genie, which it's a metaphor. It's a symbol. Mm-hmm. Like, the genie makes him dress nice, makes him more confident, makes him face things, makes him walk up to people, like makes him start trying to do things. And just because he has the genie, who is all powerful, he doesn't just stop making mistakes. He keeps making a bunch of mistakes, but he's trying things, and he's like assuming, well, I've got all of this potential. Like, I'm gonna start trying to go for it. I'm gonna start trying to use it, and it was fitting that he gets that after going to his lowest point, and it's fitting that Jafar wants that. Jafar's trying to find the part about him that has potential, but Jafar's old and resentful and vengeful, and he covets things that aren't his. Aladdin doesn't covet something that isn't his. Aladdin wants things that haven't been taken yet, which is ironic because he starts off as a thief.
Yeah,
he stops stealing things. He starts using what's within him. This movie, they didn't know that. They didn't understand that about the story. They forgot, I guess, or they never knew it to begin with. Jafar, first of all, awful casting. Guy was totally cardboard. His eyebrows don't move the whole movie. He's angry, he does this. This is anger. This is a wry smile. His eyebrows, nothing above here ever moved. He blinks sometimes. See, I just moved my eyebrows too much. Also, he's like in his early 30s.
Yeah, he's
so
not old enough.
You remember that line from the original movie where he's trying to like convince the Sultan to make Jasmine marry him, and him suggesting that like breaks the spell of the snake, and the Sultan's like, "But you're so old." That wouldn't work in this movie.
Yeah.
Also, here's kind of a good thing that was different about Jafar, was that they made him more connected to Aladdin as far as they were both like street urchins from the start.
Yeah.
I wish they would have developed that more instead of just telling us, like, show us, don't tell us. But instead we just get Jafar telling us literally what his backstory is. And there's the cool scene later where he walks up and pickpockets the lamp from Aladdin, and Aladdin doesn't notice it at first. That was cool, because he was kind of pickpocketing Aladdin back at different parts of the movie. I wish they would have leaned more into that. Like, make Jafar your own Jafar. Don't make him like the other Jafar, because it's not working, and you didn't cast him right for that. Yeah. If you were going to cast him right for that, you would have made him Ben Kingsley, with his villain nose and his thin mustache, and him being old. And a good actor. That would have been nice. With Jafar, they couldn't decide one way or the other. They couldn't decide whether they wanted to do something new, which is where a lot of the interesting stuff is, which is making him come from the same place as Aladdin and be closer in age. There could have been more of a rivalry aspect.
Yeah.
Where it's like, and you can more easily believe the thing where Genie kind of tries to make this point in both movies, where it's like, that's who you become if you chase after power.
Yeah.
And like go off of resentment and stuff like that. You could more easily believe it because he's just a little older than Aladdin, and they have a similar background, only he's gone on a completely different path. You know, or as this movie puts it, you're going to drink from that cup. If they had committed to that more, it would have worked out better. Or if they had just done the animated movie as closely as possible and cast Ben Kingsley. the Sultan in the original movie used to be really entertaining and fun and likable.
I don't know. This one, he was the typical.
He was just bland,
loving father character.
Yeah.
That was just like, he was a sultan. So
he didn't have a personality. Yeah, he was some kindly royal father figure from every other Disney film. It was like, wow, you regenericed the Sultan, who was like the unique one.
Yeah.
He was like the unique royal father figure. He was more like Belle's dad in the animated one.
Yeah.
Like, Belle's dad is a more interesting character. He was more fun. There was more to him. You know, he had quirks and imperfections.
The Handmaiden was fun. I like.
Yeah,
her.
she was fun. And she was fun with her connections to Will Smith. And, like, their whole thing was fun. It was way more fun than Aladdin and Jasmine.
Mm-hmm. The one prince guy that gets introduced in the beginning was funny.
The scene with the jams was funny.
Was funny, yeah.
But they kept calling back to it,
yeah.
and it felt like they didn't have any other jokes. Mm-hmm. So, speaking of things being funny, the original movie is really funny, mostly thanks to Robin Williams. But this movie is directed by Guy Ritchie, which shocked me, because Guy Ritchie directed Snatch and the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movies, and
really witty.
Like, yes, extremely witty. Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Mm-hmm. Like, he's so good at dialogue, but not only that, he's phenomenal at, like, visuals. Like, if you watch Revolver, which is one of his earlier movies, it's a total trip as far as, like, cinematography and editing and, like, his choice of, like, how to light a scene and stuff. Mm-hmm. It was really experimental, and he kind of tones it down while refining it in his later movies, but he was nowhere to be found in this movie. Like, he's an auteur director. Like, you can tell who's directing it just from watching it when it's one of his movies. It was not... I had no idea he directed it until I looked it up on IMDb, because I was trying to figure out... I was trying to find the previous works of Jafar's actor, because I was like, have I seen him somewhere before? I haven't seen him anywhere before. But I noticed it was like Guy Ritchie. I was like, is it the same Guy Ritchie? And it was. Like, he's known for fast-paced, witty, cottony conversations and really stylish gunfights. Mm-hmm. But it was nowhere to be found in this movie.
Yeah. I was going to say about the musical performances, those aspects. All of Aladdin's songs, I couldn't make out any of the lyrics.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, the singing was just subpar.
Very, very ho-hum, yeah.
Uh-huh. And then also...
It was decent at best.
Yeah. All of the choreography was very...
Blasé.
Yeah. It was like... It's not that it was hard to follow. It was just like, I felt like...
I had no connection to it.
Yeah.
There was no rhythm or
riveting, like suspense or anything happening. It was just like
the opening song where he's what is the opening song? What's it called? No, not that one. The one where he's running from the guards.
Oh, gotta still eat. I don't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called. I love that scene in the original. It's God, it's so good.
It reminds me of the Super NES game that we had.
Oh yeah. The first level
the
was
only
that.
level I could ever play, because I could never get past the first or second level. But anyway.
Yeah, but the way it's shot and edited in this is just bland. It's pedestrian. It's going through the motions. Like, there's parts where he kind of looks like he's looking at the camera or gesturing to someone, and it just looks limp and non-committal. And there's some parts where it looks like he's actually just getting tired and kind of jogging. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I know that they have to dub over it for that, because obviously they do.
Yeah. But
it shouldn't be that obvious that he's not singing it. Like, he looks tired, and then there's a part, in the original where it's like still I think he's rather tasty, that lady who like grabs him and whatever, who, thinks he's attractive or whatever. That's really weird in this one. Like, there's just this lady that stands in the way of the guards and starts singing to them, emoting, but we're not even looking at her. She's kind of in the corner, and it pans away from her while it's happening, and it's like, wow, they just didn't care about that. They were just like, let's get this out of the way. Let's get this over with. That's why it feels like it's just going through the motions.
I feel like all of the musical scenes, though, besides that, I was into. Like, the Prince Ali song where they were...
Yeah, that one was much better.
Coming through the town, and, like, he had this big show that he was
You notice that
on.
one was, like,
really,
colorful.
Really, yeah, it was really,
Things were
really
popping.
pretty and, like, very, like, engaging and fun. And
Did you notice Will Smith was on screen?
Yeah.
There on the set.
Yeah.
In person, not a CG.
Right.
Somehow it's the best part of the movie.
And then the dancing scene at the party was really fun, in my opinion.
Yeah,
where he's like steering him around and stuff.
And to me that felt like a good old-fashioned cheesy 90s rom-com where there's some kind of magical element involved.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, this is giving me nostalgia for the 90s, but for something totally different. And that was kind of like where it's like Will Smith is acting cartoony and out there, and I'm like, oh man, there's so much of this that could have gone in such a better direction if they would have committed to making it more different. And I didn't expect to have that opinion about it. I expected to be like, just make this shot for shot like the old one, and we'll at least survive it. They didn't do that, unfortunately. I think they would have been better than what they did, but would have been what would have been best is if they had committed to something different.
Committed to something completely different.
Yeah, where it's like, this is the new Aladdin.
Like,
this
everything is different. Not just like, oh, we're going to pay ode in this direction, now we're going to make this different because it's new.
You know what was cool? When the way that, what's his name? The parrot.
I
can't remember his name.
The parrot was cool. Like, okay, out of all of the CG animal characters...
Here's another point I want to bring up, but go ahead.
I think the parrot was probably the easiest to grasp.
And he was the easiest to like.
Yeah.
Because talking parrots is funny, and I'm glad he gets to talk. Even if it's not Gilbert Gottfried, who surprisingly sounds like a parrot.
Yeah, he had really good, like, little playoff banterish remarks that he would make that I enjoyed that.
And like, interesting.
Yeah.
And like, that stuff is fun when you hear a parrot saying it. Especially when it looks like a real parrot. And there's scenes you can tell where they just had a parrot on the set, you know, looking around, being a bird, and that's funny. But in the chase scene at the end, this movie's approach to the more realistic CGI look, I think, helped. It was a cool visual. Abu is less of a character in this movie because they made him look realistic. So, like, he's not going to emote like Abu does in the cartoon, where, you know, he has, like, emotive eyes and eyebrows, and, you know, he can actually have a personality, like a character. So, weirdly, Abu is less of a character in this movie, but Carpet and Genie are still just as much characters, because I guess they aren't real. So you start to wonder... Oh, why are we doing these movies? Why are we making them realistic? If where it matters, we're not willing to change anything. Like when it matters to make Genie act like Genie, like when they're going through all the different outfits in the desert. Nothing about that isn't a crazy over-the-top cartoon scenario. Like the execution of it is really silly and ridiculous and Looney Tunes-ish. So why can't Abu look like a cartoon monkey? Even just a more animated CG cartoon monkey. Yeah. Why does this movie have to have a muted color palette? Why can't, you know, Aladdin's outfit look like it does in the cartoon? Like a striking purple vest with that deep red hat. Yeah. There's something. I don't think this guy was in near good enough shape to be able to play Aladdin with just that vest. Yeah. Like, Aladdin has, like, pecs.
And big old toned biceps.
Yeah, so, this guy, miscast, but...
Also, his hair looked really bad the whole time. I mean, maybe he just has bad hair, but, like, that's another miscast thing. Because, like, Aladdin's hair was really floofy and, like, wavy and like the wind would blow it around and it's all billowy. And this guy's hair looked like a mat.
It looked very stiff.
Yeah.
Like they had gelled it to keep it in place.
Or
keep it looking like a character design.
It was like greased.
Yeah.
Like dirty or something.
Yeah, it either looked dirty or it looked heavily gelled. Which I guess, that's some 90s nostalgia for you.
Yes.
But, yeah. You start to actually look at things closely, and it's like, why did we do any of this? Like, if we're making these decisions at these smaller levels, the decisions, like the big picture decisions, just, they fall apart. They don't really make much sense. How come we couldn't have a more animated tiger like Raja? I loved Raja in the original.
I thought this tiger was still really cute.
Because it's a cat. It wasn't a tiger.
Like, it was a cute kitty, like kitty cat, but like it's not Raja the character.
Yeah, where she's like, he's like, I've never had any friends, and Raja's like, she's like, not you, Raja, and it's like, we don't get to have that. We don't. The scene where Abu touches the forbidden treasure to make everything start falling apart. That's not a spoiler. You've seen the original Aladdin. If you haven't, get out of here. But in the animated movie, it's so much more coherent and shot better and makes sense.
Yeah,
where it's like,
this one I wasn't sure why it was that specific piece of...
It wasn't that specific piece, because earlier in the movie, they're trying not to touch any of the gems, and none of the gems look important or even particularly nice, but they're like, oh, I'm getting tempted by it. And it's like, it looks like something from Party City. Then it's like, I have to climb this thing, but I'm trying not to touch the gems while I climb it. But earlier, he kind of trips and touches all over a big pile of them, but that doesn't count. In the animated movie, Abu sees that statue holding that big, huge, like egg-shaped ruby or whatever, and it focuses in on that like a Dutch angle to make it look really menacing and like there's something off.
Yeah,
there's almost like a ripple coming from it, like an aura. And they're just stepping over the other treasure. There's like where they find carpet. There's like gold everywhere that they're just they're moving around like it's sand because they're trying to get to the lamp. Also, in the original, I love like that image of that beam of light on the lamp just across that rocky trail. Oh, that movie's so good. This movie's so not. Yeah, like Abu just catches some nondescript piece of jewelry. Yeah. And he freaks out, so the cave freaks out. It's so awkwardly executed. This movie doesn't have a heart. In my opinion, it doesn't feel like anyone really wanted to make it, except for maybe Will Smith, because I could tell he was really trying, and when he tries, it shows. That really bizarre scene where Jasmine like freezes time to go like dust people.
Dust. It was a great vocal performance.
Yeah, okay. She was showing her range, but I was like... when that scene started, I was like, what is going on? Like, I don't get the metaphor here. She's making people dust, including her father. That was where I was totally like, I really don't know what's going on.
Oh, there's her dad. Oh, okay.
She dusted her...
So this is definitely not actually happening. This is just her thinking about it.
Yeah, I was like, just... Jasmine have a stand? But then it goes back like it didn't happen. Yeah. And it's like, did we just need to cram in a song and couldn't think of where to put it? So we had this really contrived way to fit it in there somehow?
She was, what is that called? She was like getting her gumption up so she could go and
mentally
tell off Jafar and talk to the
guard who
so he can have
a complete character arc. Yeah. Unlike most of the characters in the movie,
including Aladdin.
Yeah.
Aladdin didn't have
I'm so glad you started saying this. Go ahead.
Aladdin didn't have a character arc.
I wrote that word for word in my notes.
From being a nice thief boy that everybody misunderstood, and at the end he was a nice thief boy that everybody understood now.
Yeah, and he didn't have to change for any of it.
Yeah.
He didn't learn anything.
No.
Like, all of the lessons he was about to learn, Jafar basically states to him plainly and puts him in mortal danger for making that mistake. Also, God, Genie does everything for Aladdin in this. Do you remember how in the original movie, it's kind of like Genie's under the command of Jafar now, and Aladdin has to participate in the story to kind of be the hero at the end? Was Aladdin even in that room when it happens? At the end of the new one? When they trick Jafar into wishing he...
Yes, that was
was?
Aladdin. Yeah.
It was him kind of tricking him?
It was him. It was him, like, telling him, like...
He was, okay.
You'll always be number 2 because you're not as powerful as Genie.
Yeah, you'll always be the second most powerful person in the room.
And Parrot second.
Second!
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. That was good. I have forgotten about it because that's a forgettable actor. But they did do that. But what was the lesson? I should trick this guy? At what point in the movie was he learning to trick people? That's what I'm saying. Like, you can't start off with the answer.
Yeah.
Like, he was no different in the beginning than he was at the end. Also, man, the original movie has such an edge to it. Like, Robin Williams is so unpredictable and kind of racy in some of the stuff he does.
Mm-hmm.
Will Smith was very smooth compared to Robin
very
Williams.
Safe, very...
Yeah,
he was
sanitized.
Very much talking about the rules, not necessarily following them, kind of like...
He's like, it's kind of a gray area.
Yeah, gray area. A lot of gray area.
He wasn't like, okay. So, in the original, Aladdin was really good at tricking the genie into doing stuff for him. And in turn, that makes the genie like him. He's like, you're smart. He's like, I get it. Yeah, I see what you're doing. He's like, okay, you got me.
The genie was trying to find ways to help him because he liked him.
Yeah.
So he was trying to find ways around... The genie was trying to find ways around the rules.
We should probably wrap this up.
Yeah, we should.
I didn't know it was going to be this long. I didn't know I'd have this much to say about it.
The moral of the story is...
The moral of the story, I guess. Don't be mean and use your eyebrows when you emote. Otherwise, people won't really trust you.
Maybe try to, like, wash your hair.
Ooh, yes, wash your hair.
But also... Will Smith's presence changes everything.
Yes. Will Smith being there on set is what makes everyone on set have a much better time. And as a result, they're now a better actor because they're like, oh, Will Smith's here. Not only do I feel the need to do better because there's someone clearly better than me in the room, but I'm genuinely having a good time because Will Smith is fun to be around. Like, this isn't Bruce Willis syndrome where Bruce Willis is apparently really... kind of a douchebag on set and makes everyone not have a good time, and they kind of hate his guts as a result. Will Smith is clearly the opposite. So, cast Will Smith in more things if your movie is god-awful. Poor Will Smith. He's having to carry so many terrible movies on his back.
Also, I still had a good time. Yeah, I was expecting to be super annoyed. And
here's the thing, this movie reminds me of Aladdin. So I'm having a great time.
Yeah.
If any movie reminds me of Aladdin, or reminds me of really, really corny 90s rom-coms, or has Will Smith in it, like, I'm probably gonna... Has the fun Will Smith. I'm probably gonna like it.
It made me think... I don't know. I had a good time during, like, the big musical scenes and the fun, like, chase scenes and stuff like that, and, like...
There's still some adventure happening on screen.
Yeah. It was good. I just think it could have been...
Could have been so much better.
There's
so much stuff there that could be a lot better that they just didn't commit to because they're rigid and afraid.
It's not the worst remake of a Disney classic I've seen.
No.
That's for sure.
No, it's not the worst. That's between Beauty and the Beast and Maleficent, in my opinion.
Yeah. I enjoyed it.
It's better than Detective Pikachu.
Ooh.